Okay. Oh, I forgot to fix the bitrate. I was gonna change it, but oh well. Oh well. Okay, let me make sure we're live in the right place. Boom, we're live. Welcome back. Okay, so I've been watching this Kayla Montgomery testifying at estranged husband's trial, Adam Montgomery. Now, the thing with this, I just pulled up a quick article. Let me get the right chat popped up too, because I got the old chat. Said they wanted to watch it now. Bright light. Okay. Get the new chat. Okay. I just needed to take a second to use the restroom and like reset for a second. Happy birthday, Stacy. All right. Wait, what are you guys joking about? Wait, what? I missed something in the chat. Okay, so this whole thing with Adam and Kayla. So she testified against him in a weapons trial. It says Adam Montgomery is charged with 2 counts of being an armed career criminal, receiving stolen property, and theft by unauthorized taking. He's separately being charged with killing his daughter, Harmony Montgomery. The Harmony story, we've covered it multiple times. It's been a long time since I've touched on it. So the case is about a stolen shotgun and a rifle belonging to a man, Chris Fran. So we're gonna watch this and check it out. There are some clips that I don't want to play all these right now. Maybe we can do this timeline video. And she also took a plea deal. Apparently, plea deal calls for Kayla Montgomery to serve time. Let's watch these 2 quick. Hopefully, it's quick. Yeah, quick videos, and then we'll do this thing. I'll just read it, right? So, at first, Manchester police said they believe she went missing between late November and early December 2019. Let's see. Police did not begin their search for Harmony until December 2021, when the State Division of Children, Youth, and Families notified them of her disappearance. She was born in 2014, Massachusetts. What's a weird time saying that? She was removed from her mother, Crystal Sore's care 3 times before turning 4. And finally, July 2018, Sore lost custody of her daughter because of alleged neglect connected to drug use. Harmony was then placed in foster care. Eventually, in February 2019, a Massachusetts family court judge granted custody of Harmony to her father, Adam Montgomery, who lived in New Hampshire. And I forgot why that was crazy. Did he already have a history of something? There's so much. Like, I have a whole bunch of stuff to this, but like I know it's been a long time. But Adam is the biological father. Crystal Sore is the biological mother. Kayla is the wife of Adam. Then there's the father's brother, Kevin Montgomery. Kelsey Smalls, that was a whole nother situation where some girlfriend of the father, I guess Adam, but like she passed away. Yeah. So, okay, so the father gets custody, who lived in New Hampshire. The placement came before NH's DCYF could conduct a home study. The last time Story saw her daughter was Easter 2019 over a FaceTime call. I have all that stuff here on this thing. Around November or December 2019, Adam Montgomery's wife, Kayla, told her he planned to take Harmony to Lowell, Massachusetts. Kayla said this was the last time she saw Harmony. When a person close to Soraya contacted DCYF in September 2021, the department attempted to locate the girl. DCYF could not locate Harmony, and eventually detectives found Adam living in his car with his new girlfriend on December 31st, 2021. And that's the person I just mentioned, this Kelsey Smalls. The FBI joined Manchester police to search the property where Montgomery used to live on January 4, 2022. No way, Grumpy, they asked Kayla about Kelsey today? Ooh, I'm intrigued. Stacy says she's in the middle of a divorce. Okay. DCF never checked. The same day, Adam Montgomery is arrested on charges of assault, interference with custody, and endangering the welfare of a child. Metal French, thank you for the super chat. He was later arrested on new charges of theft in April 2022. We got all kinds of charges and shit. Kayla Montgomery was arrested 2 days after Adam Montgomery and then incarcerated for 4 months on multiple charges not directly connected to the disappearance. It's a long history. She was charged with perjury for allegedly lying to a grand jury. Here she is right there on camera. In June 2022, officials searched Adam Montgomery and Kayla Montgomery's former apartment. I remember this was happening. Hauling a fridge out, investigators were assisted by a sewer plumbing team, which is so crazy because this little girl was never found, I believe, right? Assisted by a sewer plumbing team. Sources told News 9 that new credible information from a person close to the investigation led to the search of the apartment. In August 2022, the Attorney General said investigators believe Harmony was killed in early December 2019. The recently confirmed biological evidence and multiple sources of information led them to the conclusion. It's like this long-ass history of multiple people. In September 2022, Kayla Montgomery was arrested on a bench warrant after she did not show up for a hearing. Her bail was revoked a few days later. On October 2022, the Attorney General announced Adam Montgomery was arrested and charged with the murder and in the death of Harmony Montgomery in 2019. There he is. There he is. Harmony's body has not been found yet. Sweet little girl. I think she was 5 at the time, is what they said. The other quick little thing, because we got 2 hours to go through. I just want to show the whole thing. Like, she took a plea deal. She got snitch.
Kayla Montgomery walked into court.
You got to put in. Got to give information.
Montgomery walked into court in Prison Orange, her hands shackled, to strike a deal to testify against estranged husband Adam Montgomery. He's accused of killing his 5-year-old daughter Harmony. Kayla had been interviewed by Manchester police back in December of 2021, just days after the investigation into the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery began. She was subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury in May to repeat what she'd said about seeing Harmony for the last time in November of 2019.
While under oath, the defendant testified initially that a day or two after Thanksgiving of 2019, Adam dropped her, the defendant, off at work, and Harmony and the other 2 children were in the car. The defendant testified that at that time, Adam said he was bringing Harmony to Harmony's mother.
caught in two lies, not about her estranged husband or Harmony, but about the time and place she said she was working.
Kayla Montgomery testified falsely regarding the time of the prior work shift. How do you plead to that? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
The two felonies carry a sentence of 3.5 to 7 years each. She'll be eligible for parole in a year and a half.
Obviously, she would have liked to not to have to do any jail time, but she recognized the situation she was in.
Kayla Montgomery plea deal, serve 1.5 years, testify against Adam Montgomery.
She recognized the state's perspective, and she struck what she thought was a fair deal for herself.
Her defense attorney says he can't talk about whether or not Kayla Montgomery knows where Harmony Montgomery's body can be found. He says whatever we know we'll hear at trial. We're live in Manchester, Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay. There's another. Let me just read this snippet and then we'll start with the video. Got a bit to go. I just thought this was interesting too. Forgot about this. Oop, off the screen. In an interview with police, Harmony's great uncle told officers he saw her with a black guy in July 2019. He said Montgomery told him he hit her after he had seen his daughter holding her hand over her younger brother's mouth to stop him from crying, according to police documents. I walked in the house and Harmony had a black eye, like you see in a boxing match between two men, Kevin Montgomery. He was visiting the Manchester home and asked about the inquiry. He bashed her around the apartment, were his exact words, said Kevin Montgomery. Can't even read today. I might have it off a little bit, but that's pretty much what he said. He also told investigators, according to court documents, that he observed other forms of abusive discipline, including Harmony being forced to stand in the corner for hours and told to scrub the toilet with her toothbrush. Kevin Montgomery told family members he made multiple reports to DCYF. I don't know how they missed it. So, I mean, that is a big deal. I think I took this from somebody on Facebook. There's a little timeline here. So in December 2021, Manchester police speak with Adam's brother, the father's brother, Michael Montgomery, who raises concerns about Harmony's welfare. Police also speak with Adam's uncle, Kevin Montgomery, who details several forms of abuse against Harmony. All right, so let's start. It's Kayla. So this is from today. This is a couple hours ago, or earlier today, several hours ago. Check it out. I'm curious. Haven't talked about this story in a long time. So you got to get to talking, got to get to snitching. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna fix the volume. I'll try. Hopefully the microphone, I'll pick her up.
Okay, Kayla, can you please state and spell your first and last name for the jury?
All right.
My name's Kayla Montgomery. KaylaMontgomery.
Okay, and how old are you, Kayla?
32.
Where do you currently reside?
She like she's taking care of herself in jail because, bruh, look at this shit before. She was looking like a wreck before and in other pictures. Wasn't there? She's the one that didn't she do an interview too? Kayla Montgomery. She was looking like a junkie or something. One of these videos. Where's I swear I thought I'd seen this. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Damn, bro, check this shit out, bro.
Police in Montgomery, Little Harmony,
Bruh. So she's what, she came up in jail or something? Bruh. She's doing better in jail than out jail, right? Whatever. Wow. She got her hair did. They got a salon over there. She got her hair done. I don't know, whatever it is women do to their hair, she got it done.
The state prison for women.
And how long have you lived there?
No. Lee said women's prisons can be like spa. No joke. For real, cause she wear her fresh looking, like she got a facial and shit. She got a facial, makeup on, brand new glasses and shit. Hair's done, fresh cut.
It's November.
Sober? Maybe it's sobriety. Maybe that's what it is.
22.
Oh, sorry, me.
November
How old are you, Kayla?
32.
Where do you currently reside?
The state prison for women.
And how long have you lived there?
Since November 2022.
What, the student?
Why do you live in the women's prison?
Perjury charges.
Were you convicted of those charges
Yes.
and sentenced for those charges?
Yes.
Were you also charged with receiving stolen property?
Yes.
And those charges were dismissed as part of a Were those
Yes.
charges dismissed as part of a plea agreement?
Yes.
And you admitted to lying to the grand jury?
Yes.
Did you admit
Objection leading.
Apologies. Did you admit to lying to the grand jury?
Yes.
Do you understand the consequences of providing false testimony here today?
Yes.
Nicole said women in jail get their hair cut with nail clippers. No way. And their eyebrows done with threading technique. Oh shit. Foster said ladies in jail are resourceful on personal grooming. Oh, okay.
How are you doing today, Kayla?
I'm okay.
Is it difficult for you to be here?
Yes.
Why is that?
It's a lot.
And so, Kayla, there's a microphone right in front of you. It looks like a stick coming out from beside the computer screen there. If you can just sit a little bit closer to that, it's a little difficult for me to hear you. And I want to make sure that all of these jurors hear what you're saying. So you said it's a lot?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know someone named Adam Montgomery?
Yeah.
Oh, she's crying.
And how do you know him?
Wow, okay.
He and my husband.
You said he's your husband?
Yeah.
How long have you two been married?
6. It'll be 6 years.
Do you remember the date you got married?
Yeah, it was June 7th, 2017.
How long have you known Adam Montgomery?
Since we were in high school.
Are you currently in legal proceedings related to your marriage?
Yes.
Did you file for divorce?
Yes, I did.
It was like somebody said they're in the process of divorce.
Did you leave the defendant at some point in time?
Yes.
Do you know if after you left him, he started a relationship with another individual?
Yes, he did.
Do you know that person's name?
Kelsey Small.
Did you ever meet Kelsey Small?
Yes.
Do you have any children with the defendant?
Yes, I do. I have 3.
3 children. What are their names?
Seamus, Declan, and Kira.
So you talked about where you're currently living at the women's prison.
Yeah.
Where did you live back in October of 2019?
I was living at 77 Guilford Street in Manchester, New Hampshire,
How long did you live there?
for about a year and a half.
For a year and a half. When did you Why did you stop living there?
Because we got kicked out of the house.
Was that an eviction?
Yes.
Do you remember what month of and what year that was?
November 2019.
When you lived at the 77 Guilford Street address, who did you live with there?
It was myself, Adam, Seamus, Declan, and Harmony.
Do you think you'd recognize that address if you saw it today?
Yes.
Judge, may I approach you with it?
Yes, you may.
There he is. Stacy says Adam Montgomery was suspected in the 2008 murder of Austin Square Lynn. Look that up. I think I remember talking about that at some point. I think be good to check out.
And so, Kayla, I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification as States Exhibit 42A through J. And I'm just going to ask you to look at each of those. And
Found it.
Counselor, can you approach just a minute?
So the father of missing New Hampshire child is also a suspect in the unsolved murder of a Lynn man in 2008, according to a law enforcement official with knowledge of the investigation. Adam Montgomery, whose daughter, 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery, has been missing since late 2019, is a suspect in the murder of Darlene Guzman, 28. Person's 28 years old. About 14 years ago, Guzman was shot to death in a parking lot outside White Hen Pantry at 9 Austin Square, which is now a 7-Eleven, at 10:55 p.m. on February 10, 2008. According to a Lynn Daily Item report, at the time, Guzman, a computer repairman, was born in the Dominican Republic, DR, and lived in Lynn for 13 years, according to the obituary. Adam, who has an extensive criminal history, is currently being held without bail in New Hampshire, where he faces charges for second-degree assault. Oh, I thought there was going to be more information about that. It's an unsolved murder. Okay. Just before 11 p.m., Darlene Guzman was fatally shot in the parking lot. Guzman was shot in the chest. First responders transported Guzman to a nearby hospital. He was pronounced dead. At the time of the murder, Lynn police described the suspect as a light-skinned man in his 20s, 6 feet tall, wearing a red hooded sweatshirt. He drove away in a red Honda Accord up at Boston Street. According to my law enforcement source, Adam Montgomery, along with 2 members of his family, have been the focus on this murder investigation almost since day 1. I'm told the investigation revealed that Adam and 2 members of his family interacted with Guzman earlier that day. I wonder if it's like, what, the brother, or like, I don't know who, but, and that they agreed to meet up at White Hen Lynn, which that's where the murder took place. The result of that meeting was deadly gunfire. Guzman's car was recovered days later in a cul-de-sac in Billerica, which is the direction of Bedford, New Hampshire, where Adam was living with his family at the time. Adam Montgomery was 18 years old at the time of the Guzman murder. He was already facing various criminal charges in New Hampshire and was free on bail. To date, neither Adam nor anyone else has been charged with Guzman's murder. But I am told Adam remains the focus of this very open investigation. This is an article from January 2022. Interesting.
We'll go through them starting with 42A, and it looks like they're, let me get them back in order really quick.
Yeah, I saw that, Richie. How you doing, Richie? Melly will be probably convicted. Don't think he should get death penalty. Then fucker was conspiring. I was gonna say MFer, but I don't know. That Melly YNV, whatever the hell. That's a Florida case. It's actually a Broward County case, right? My friend was telling me I should look into it, but I just don't know that there's gonna be interest on the channel for like a rapper murder case. I don't know if that trial is gonna be interesting or not. I think they're starting jury selection. I read on an Instagram post that I think that trial should start like June. I thought I read June 20th, something like that. I'd have to look and see how long that trial is going to be. Bill Rica, we don't pronounce the E. Thank you, Sandy.
Starting with A and going to J, if you could just look at each of those images and identify them in turn.
It's a death penalty case. You know the interesting with Florida is they don't need everybody for a death penalty now. My friend was telling me they changed it or something. Now they don't need everybody to Florida death penalty new law. DeSantis lowering death penalty threshold in Florida. The change will allow juries in the state to recommend death sentence even if as many as 4 jurors vote against it, the lowest threshold in the nation. So even if 4 people go against it, you could still get it. The death penalty. Damn.
If you could just look at each of those images and identify them in turn.
The first, A is the driveway and the mailbox. And B is the outside of the house, of the front yard. And, this is in the basement ceiling.
I'm just going to ask you to please keep your voice up because all the jurors need to be able to hear you. Thank you.
And if you could just note which letter you're on.
Majority vote.
42C.
Thank you, Britt.
Okay, and what did you say 42C is?
That's the ceiling in the basement. And 42D is the ceiling in the attic, I believe. Yeah. And 42E is the attic, the storage room in the attic. And 42F is the room.
And whose room is
Bedroom.
F?
It was mine and Adam's and the 2 boys.
Okay, and G?
That's Harmony's room.
H?
Harmony's room. The kitchen is I. And the back porch is J. Or the front. I don't know which one that is.
And
Oh, that's the front.
there, it's the front?
Yeah.
So it's the front room?
Yeah, the living room.
And are those fair and accurate representations of the 77 Gilbert Street address, as you remember it?
Yes.
And Judge, at this point, I'd move to strike the ID and that is full.
Any objection?
I think she may have fixed it, or the question may have, as you remember it, but I think I'd like further foundation of.
Yes?
So they're just getting started. She on them perks? Oh man, I'm checking for Noel to see if there's any update. I don't think there is, sadly. That's some crazy ass story that these people hightailed it out of the country and likely killed that baby. Dipped out to India. Yeah, there's no updates. I hope they, well, let me not say that. I was going to say something. Just,
So, Kayla, you said that those are fair and accurate representations of the Guilford Street address as you remember it.
Yes.
And so I was referring specifically to October 2019. Is that an accurate representation of the house back then?
Yes, without the furniture.
And without your things?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Judge, at this point, I'm going to distract ID.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
The ID is stricken. Each of those are entered as full exhibits.
And so, Kayla, you were telling us about the front room, and I think you also mentioned the kitchen.
Yes.
Where are those in relation to each other?
They are, when you walk into the house, the living room is right in the front, and then you walk through, and there's the kitchen. But there's a wall that separates the kitchen and the living room. But there's still the walkway to walk through.
So you can walk through from one to another. I'm going to take those back from you. If you need more water, just let me know. So focusing back on that time period, September, October 2019, what was your life like back then?
I was working up until November 2019 at Dunkin' Donuts. I would work 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Adam would be home with the kids while I'm at work. And he would drop me off and pick me up from work because I didn't have a license. And then after he would pick me up, I would be at the house with the kids, and he would leave some nights because we were using drugs.
When you say we were using drugs, what do you mean?
Like getting high, using heroin and crack and
Wow.
weed.
So that explains why she looked like she looked, I guess. But like serious stuff. It's not like they're just doing weed or some pills. She said crack and heroin. Holy crap. Kelly, thank you so much for the super chat. Says any interest in Taylor's for business case starts next month. Sounds interesting. She reminds me of Letitia Nuts. I would love to cover I would love to cover that case. I don't know if are they gonna stream it? Taylor's for business, I covered that story. That's that lady that's just crazy. Like she had this boyfriend or something. This is off the top of my head. This is just like, I think they were doing drugs or something. I don't know if it was meth, and they were having like meth sex. This chick had this guy like tied up. I don't remember all the details specifically. Tied up, having kind of sex. At some point, this chick starts to, I think she puts a chain around his neck and like starts to like choke him or something. And it gets to the point where like, I guess he can't breathe. And at one point, I think she said she could see his like heart pumping out of his chest or something like that. And to the point where like she kills him. Like, I guess she kills him at some point. Then she starts using a toy on this guy after he's dead. That's what I read. We read the whole affidavit. It was very detailed. It was very graphic. In multiple places, she's using this toy. I don't remember. I think she, at some point, and this is all happening in the basement of his mother's house. The mother's like sleeping upstairs, I believe. I think at some point she like decapitates him and dismembers him. I think she puts his head in a bucket, and I think the body parts are in different places. I think she moves some of it to the car. I think to the vehicle, I believe. I forgot all the details, but if we cover that trial, we'll definitely. I was shocked when I heard all the details because there's just so many shocking things about it. But I guess she had left at some point, and the mother comes downstairs wondering what's going on, and she sees the bucket, and so she like looks at it, and she finds her son's head in the bucket. Crazy. So this is the lady that attacked her attorney recently. And this is the lady that now they're trying to say her defense allegedly was trying to argue that because the person's dead, so it's not a person, or what the fuck? Taylor should be. Anybody know about what I'm talking about? I saw something. I didn't read it. I don't want to sidetrack too much, but Schabusiness defense argues victim not a person after death. So, I don't know, bro. All right.
And when you say we were getting high and using heroin and crack and weed, who's we?
Adam and I.
And what was your drug of choice?
It was both heroin and crack.
Are you sober now?
Yes.
What did it take for you to become sober?
Going to jail.
I asked you about your drug of choice back then. What was the defendant's?
Heroin.
And you mentioned working at Dunkin' Donuts up
Yeah.
until November of 2019.
Yes.
What did the defendant do for work back then?
He was home with the kids.
And he'd leave at night, you said?
Yeah, he would leave after I'd be home for a couple hours, and go for rides.
Okay. Do you know, back then, how did you get your drugs?
I had money from my job, and that's what I remember up until we got kicked out, evicted from the house.
And you mentioned Harmony, Declan, and Seamus. How did you support them?
We had food stamps, and my income, which was barely anything at the time.
Was there anyone that you were close to back then in September, October 2019?
There was a few people that were in and out back then of my life, but I know one that was around a lot was Tabitha Scott.
And what about people from work? Were you close to anyone there?
Kimberly Frayne.
And you knew her from work?
Yes.
How long had you known Kimberly Frayne?
Since 2016, I believe.
And so back in October of 2019, how would you describe your relationship with her? You've called her a friend. Were the two of you close?
Yeah, we weren't as close as we used to be because I switched franchises, so I didn't see her that much, but started talking to her again because she was using drugs at the time and she had a car, and it was just another way to be able to get drugs.
Through Kimberly?
Yes.
Do you know where she lived back in September, October 2019?
I remember she lived on Russell Street in Manchester.
Had you been to her home on Russell Street?
Yes.
How many times would you say?
I don't know, probably about 4, 5 times that I can remember.
And who did she live with back then in her home on Russell Street?
Her husband, Chris Frayne, and her daughter, their daughter.
And you just mentioned Chris Frayne. Did you know him as well?
Yeah,
How'd you know him?
through Kim.
How would you describe your relationship with him?
It was, I don't know, we were all just friends. Like, he was just a really nice person.
And have you kept in contact with either Chris or Kim Frayne?
I was in contact with Chris back in January, the end of December, January, before I got arrested.
And Kayla, I want to turn your attention specifically to October of 2019 and the theft of firearms. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
What am I referring to?
The firearms got taken and stolen out of Chris Frayne and Kimberly Frayne's house.
What kind of firearms were stolen?
I have no idea what the names of them are. I just know they were big. I don't remember the names.
Let's back up. You said firearms. Was this more than one?
Yeah. Yes.
How many are we referring to?
2 that I remember.
Okay. And how would you describe them?
Like a rifle type. I don't know. They were just big. Rifle, shotgun. I don't know what the names of them are. I don't know what they're called.
So a rifle, shotgun?
Yeah.
Did you personally see these?
Yes.
I want to talk about the first time that you saw them. Can you tell us about that?
I know that there were people at the house that came so that we could buy drugs off them, and Adam was showing them to those couple of people that came by trying to sell them, and I remember I was taking care of the kids
So those people came by?
that came by. Those couple of people that came by trying to sell them, and I remember I was taking care of the kids, and I was looking to see what was going on in the living room from the kitchen, and it was just chaos in that house at that time, that same night.
Why is that? Why was it chaos?
It was just a lot of people going in and out, and taking care of the kids at the same time.
Mess.
I don't even know.
And I think you said that night. Are we talking about nighttime?
Yes.
Thank you, Helpcat, for the membership.
So
Thank you.
the incident that you're describing, were you already aware at that point that the guns had been stolen from the Frayne house?
Yes.
All right. And you said people had come to sell drugs?
Yeah.
Was that to you or to someone else?
To Adam, but I was gonna be doing the drugs too.
Okay. So they came to sell drugs to Adam. You were going to do the drugs as well.
Yes.
And it sounded like you said he offered to sell them the firearms?
Yeah, to trade them or buy them. Buy the firearms or trade them for drugs.
Okay. So he had them at that point and he was going to trade them or sell them for drugs?
Yes. Trade them for drugs or sell them for money.
At that point, did you know what he was wanting to get for them?
No, I had no idea, because I don't know. I never dealt with that before. I just let him deal with it, because I don't know.
And the individuals that you're referring to that came to the house, do you know their names?
I remember Mike. I don't remember his last name. And I don't remember if the other 2 came that night, but there was always somebody with Mike all the time. And I
wonder, is she talking about Michael Montgomery or no? Some other Mike?
just remember Ish and Manny. I don't know their last names.
Okay. So Mike, Ish, and Manny were there that night to sell Adam drugs?
I believe, yeah.
And I think you said he offered them the 2 guns?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how long after you found out about the theft was this incident that you're describing?
It was within the couple of days, like the next night or something like that. It was around that time, the same time.
So let me give you guys a little bit of context, because we've heard these names, Christopher Frayne and Kimberly Frayne. So I can give you a little bit of information because I think these people already testified. And so Chris Frayne is from Manchester, a New Hampshire native who testified as the state's first witness in Adam Montgomery's 2023 weapons trial about guns taken from his home in the fall of 2019. On the stand, Chris testified that the firearms had been stolen while he was away on a business trip, and his then wife, Kim Frayne, was home with their young daughter at the time. The couple has since separated, having parted ways in 2020. The guns included an HK-45 pistol, a Ruger LCP, a Stag Arms AR-15, and a black 12-gauge Mossberg shotgun with a scope and a thumb hole for a better grip. Chris told the jury that the 2 handguns he kept in his dresser drawers were not taken. Chris said the 2 long guns he kept under his bed wrapped in a blanket had been stolen. Chris reported the guns, his watch, and a few other miscellaneous items stolen to the police. He immediately suspected his then wife, Kim, who he said was the only person to know where the weapons under the bed, that the weapons were under the bed. Chris said he got the shotgun from a friend and the AR-15 from his brother, Connor, about a month before it was stolen. Now, Kimberly Frayne, the wife at the time, they've separated. I guess they're in the process of divorce, but they're separated. The state's second witness in Adam Montgomery's weapons trial was Kim Frayne. She testified that she used to work at Dunkin' Donuts with Adam and Kayla, the lady you see here, in the fall of 2019. That's why she was talking about that job. She was married to Chris Frayne at the time. She described that time of her life as a low point. I was doing drugs. He was doing drugs. Bad things were happening all around us, Kim testified. Kim said both she and Kayla were pregnant at the same time. Kim said that she was 3 years sober currently, but admitted to being a drug addict during this bad time of her life. She said her connection with Adam and Kayla turned into a drug relationship. Kim testified about 3 guns she says were taken from their home, along with a silver wedding band, which she said she pawned months before the guns were taken. She said the guns were taken from her home while she was passed out on the couch. When her husband returned home from a work trip, she said he looked under the bed and couldn't find the guns. They searched the whole house for them. She said her husband became angry and began throwing things down the stairs and around the house. He went to bed, then called the police the next day. Chris reported 3 guns missing, the AR-15, the shotgun, and one of the handguns. The handguns were recovered, but the AR-15 and the shotgun were not. During cross-examination, Kim admitted that she moved the large guns behind the couch where she slept when Chris was gone so they wouldn't get stolen. She also admitted she could have possibly told Ish where the guns were. I don't know who Ish is, but this Ish name keeps coming up. I'm gonna have to, I'll try to find out about that. So that's a little bit of the backstory, the testimonies from Chris and Kimberly Frayne, the guns.
You described it as chaos. How did Ish, Manny, and Mike react to this offer of the guns?
They were checking them out, and they were just checking them out, looking at them, and they were saying that they would think about it. But they also knew that the guns were missing from Chris and Kim's house, but they didn't know that those were those guns yet.
Okay. When did you first become, let me strike that question. At some point, did you become aware that the defendant had stolen Kim Frayne and Chris Frayne's firearms?
Yes.
And tell us about that.
That makes sense, I guess.
I know Kim was...
Grumpy says, Ish is supposedly a scary dude. Laura H, thank you for the 3-month membership. Mama for Rose, thank you for the 6-month membership. Says, love this show. Thank you guys. Mema French, thank you for the super chat. Says, stay strong, people. And Jeffrey S., thank you for the membership. 3 months. Amazing. Hope you're doing well, Mel. Thank you.
Freaking out because she noticed that they were missing and she was trying to figure out where they went and who took them before Chris came back home because he was on the road, truck driver or whatever he did. And so Kim called and asked if we knew anything or if anybody was in and out the house. And then the other people that I mentioned that she was involved with, she was asking everybody if they've seen them or taken them or anything like that. But
well, thank you.
And something Kim's, I guess the night they got stolen, well, I know the night they got stolen, Chris, Kim left her door open to her house and she was passed out.
And let me stop you there. Were you there that night the guns got stolen?
No.
But you said you know the night that they got stolen. How do you know that information?
Because Kim was freaking out, and when she called, she said that her door was open, and then Adam went to go check on her too. Adam was supposed to be going to meet her. And when he pulled up to the house, the door was open and she was passed out and he woke her up.
Were you there for that?
No.
How do you know that?
Because he told me.
And when you say he told me,
Adam told me.
So just for everybody, somebody was asking if she's in rehab or jail. Susan replied and says she's in prison for 3 to 7 years minus 1.5 years for testifying. Yeah, so that's the plea deal. Thank you for that, Susan.
So he told you that he went to her house that night?
Well, I already knew he was supposed to be going there.
Okay, how did you know he was supposed to be going there?
Because he was supposed to meet her to do something with drugs. It had something to do with drugs because that's the only time we really were seeing her.
Was that typical for the defendant back then to go to her house by himself?
Around that time, yeah. Because he was the one with the car license, and we weren't gonna bring the kids out when it's nighttime and it's time for them to go to bed.
You described living on Guilford Street, and I think you said Kim lived on
Russell Street.
How far apart, or how long would it take to get from your house to Kim's house?
I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes. Could be less, a little less or a little more, but she lived all the way on, like almost near Hooksett. She lived like near the store that I met her working at, the South Beach Street store before Livingston Park.
It took about 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, and I want to back up just a bit. You said the defendant told you that he went to her house, but you already knew he was going to her house.
Yeah.
And he told you that her door was open?
Yes.
And then what else did he tell you about that interaction?
And he said that she was passed out and he woke her up, and when she woke up she was freaking out about the guns missing.
When did he tell you that story?
It was that same night.
When he got home?
Yes.
And can you describe for us him getting back home?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you walk us through him returning home that night?
I know I was waiting for him, and I was laying down with the kids, and I think I heard him come through the door because I always heard him come through the door. And when he came through the door, I don't remember him having anything when he came through the door.
Did you see him come through the door?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think he was going in and out, and from what I remember, I don't remember seeing him bring anything in. I don't know where he put anything yet. Like, I don't know. I don't remember.
Did he have drugs with him that night?
Yes.
Kind of a weird story. So yeah, I guess this lady, what's her name? Kim? Look up the name here. Yeah, Kim. So Kim leaves the door open, I guess, wide open and passed out. And so then Adam comes in and takes the guns to sell it for drugs. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's the story. Unless Kim wanted some drugs too, made a deal to screw over the then husband. I don't know, just speculating.
I believe so.
And-
I don't know, it's a fog, because I know we're just getting high a lot.
And you said you didn't know where he put them yet.
No,
And what are you referring to by them?
because they were in the attic of the house,
Sorry, when you say they were in the attic, what are you referring to?
the guns.
Okay, and did you see the attic of the house in those photos that I showed you?
Yes.
Really? Grumpy says that Kim testified that she and Adam hung out for a while looking for drugs. Oh, Adam left the door open. Oh, okay. Thank you, Erica. Adam left it. Oh, okay. I thought it was Kim that left it open.
So you told us about the story the defendant told you about going to Kim Frane's home, finding the door open, she's passed out,
So he says he found the door open, but I guess that could have been a lie.
and then she started, I think you said, freaking out
Yeah,
about
she-
the missing guns.
Yes.
Did he ever
He said that that he goes to the house and finds the door open.
tell you a different story about that night? Freaking out
Yeah,
about
she-
the missing gun Frane's home, finding the door open, she's passed out, and then she started, I think you said, freaking out
Yeah,
about
she-
the missing guns.
Yes.
Did he ever tell you a different story about that night?
No.
Did you confront him about the guns?
I just didn't know what to say. I was kind of upset about it, because that they're supposed to be our friends, but I don't know. It was just messed up, that whole situation.
And when you say they're supposed to be our friends,
Kim and Chris,
why were you upset about it?
because I didn't like the guns, first of all, and second of all, he just took them without even and he could have given them back after they realized they were gone, but he didn't.
And you said he just took them. How do you know he took them?
Because he's told me that he took them.
Okay, and so I want to stop you just then. So you told me the story he told you about going into the home, finding Kim passed out, waking her up, her freaking out.
Yeah.
Was there, it sounds like there was a subsequent conversation, so another conversation later when he told you that they were stolen. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that conversation?
All he said was that Kim was passed out and he ended up taking the guns. That's all. There wasn't really a story with it.
And that upset you?
Yeah, because he took them from friends and I didn't want the guns in the house.
Took them from friends.
Yeah.
Were you still working with Kim at that point?
No, we worked at separate stores.
Did you ever talk to her about the theft that night?
Not that night, no.
Not that night, but did she discuss cameras with you at some point?
Yes.
And can you tell us about that interaction?
She told me that she called the police department and put a stolen, reported stolen items, and she said that she's gonna see whoever did it because there was cameras, her neighbors had cameras, and she said that she was getting the camera footage or whatever so that she could see who took them.
Did that concern you at all?
Yeah.
Damn, Grumpy here says Kim fell asleep because she had been up for 3 days, because at this point, I guess everybody was doing drugs. Adam took the guns, left the door open. Kim also found a fresh crack pipe packed for her when she woke up. Damn. And then Shirley's like, where are the babies at during all this hot mess?
And you'd already seen the guns at that point.
Yes.
What did you do with that information?
I told Adam.
What was his response?
Honestly, I don't remember. I know he was a little worried, I remember that, but I honestly don't remember.
So you just previously you described an interaction a night or two. It sounds like it was the night after the theft where Mike is there, Ish is there, and Manny's there.
Yes.
The defendant offered them the guns for sale or for trade.
Yes.
Drugs or money.
Yes.
Did you ever witness any other transactions like that with those guns?
Not that I remember. I know there was another transaction, but I don't remember how it went down, or I don't remember any of that, but I know there was
Let me back up. The first transaction that you just described with Mike, Ish, and Manny, what were you doing during that?
I don't know. I was all around the house because the kids were awake and not in bed because they woke up from all the noise, which happened every time. And I was trying, like, I tried keeping them in the kitchen and was trying to get them to relax, but that wasn't happening. And it was just a lot going on at once. Like the guys being in the house, and then also people getting high in the house, those people. But then they would like be there and then they'd be gone real quick. Like they'd come in and they'd leave.
Did the guns stay in the house that night?
Yes.
And I believe you said they were stored in the attic area?
Yes.
Were they stored in something?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you remember telling law enforcement that they were...
Basis?
Feeding in that proper foundation.
Rephrase the question, please.
Do you remember them being stored or wrapped in something?
Not that I remember.
Do you remember meeting with law enforcement? Do you
Yes.
remember a June 3rd proffer back in 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember telling law enforcement at that point?
Approach?
Damn. Kayla. I wonder when the defense starts questioning her, I wonder what they're going to say.
Can we proceed?
During that proffer, do you remember disclosing that the firearms were stored in a blue sheet and blanket?
Yes.
Is that what they were stored in?
From what? In the attic, because we didn't sleep in the attic anymore. But I know they were stored in the storage room. But I do remember the sheet.
Do you remember what color the sheet was?
Blue.
Was there also a blanket?
I don't remember a blanket.
But you remember a blue sheet?
Yes.
How many times did you see those firearms in your house?
About three times, I believe. I don't remember, but I know at least 3 times.
Okay, and I want to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to ask you, do you know someone named Kevin O'Leary?
Yes.
Do you know him by another name?
No.
Okay. How do you know Kevin O'Leary?
He lived up the hill from the Guilford Street house, and Adam met him somehow. I don't know how, but I guess he knew him or something. And he was smoking weed. That's what it was, smoking weed. And he smoked a blunt with him, and that's how I remember them meeting, but I don't know if they knew each other from before. I don't remember.
Okay. Would you see him regularly, Kevin?
Yes.
How often would you see Kevin?
Almost about every day, like from back in that period of the fall 2019.
So very frequently, it sounds like.
Yes.
What was your relationship like with Kevin?
He wasn't really my friend. He was Adam's friend. So, but he would obviously, like, he had respect for me because I'm Adam's wife, and he was very nice, but I didn't not like him, but I don't know. He was just there to me.
And you said he was Adam's friend.
Yes.
Did you ever observe a transaction between Adam and Kevin?
No. I don't remember a transaction happening, but I remember Kevin looking at the gun. One of the guns. I don't even know if we had them all anymore. I don't know, but in the house. But I know he looked at one He was looking at one.
Do you remember, sorry, when Kevin was looking at the gun, was that with you or was that with Adam?
Both.
Okay, so you were there for that.
Yes.
What were you doing at the time?
Getting high.
At some point during that interaction, did Kevin and Adam leave your house with one of the firearms?
Not at that time, like not right at that moment. Kevin went home from what I remember, and because they did talk about leaving with it, and Adam had it put away under the bed we were sleeping in at the time. And I remember getting in a fight with him because I didn't want him to leave the house, especially with the gun. I got in an altercation with him about it and tried taking it from him, and he still took it and left anyways. And it was just not good. And if we kept arguing about it, the kids were gonna wake up.
Was it nighttime?
Yes.
And so the kids were asleep?
Yes.
You said you didn't want him leaving with it, especially with a gun?
Yes.
Why?
Because
You guys hear me typing? I don't like that it's picking up the typing, not the just that.
I was nervous and scared that he'd get in trouble
Why would he get in trouble for having a gun?
because he's a felon and not supposed to have one.
So you told him not to?
Yes.
Did he leave anyway?
Yes.
You know where he went with it?
I remember him and Kevin talking about going up behind Rock Rimmon to shoot it off. That's what I remember.
Do you remember him coming back that evening?
I don't remember. I was sleeping with the kids at the time.
And after he left to go to, I think you said Rock Rimmon,
Yeah.
to shoot the gun, was that gun under your bed after that?
Not that I noticed.
Do you know any other individuals that the defendant attempted to sell those guns to?
No, not that I know of.
Do you know someone named Mark Reed?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know someone named Tone?
Yes.
Did the defendant ever offer the firearms to them?
Yes. I don't know about Mark, but Tone, yes.
Can you tell us what you know of that?
Just offered to trade it for drugs.
Do you know Tone's full name?
Anthony Badero.
Kayla, I want to back up. So you mentioned these two firearms. Do you know anything about a stolen pistol from the Frayne home?
No. I do not.
Did you ever have a conversation with Kim about a missing handgun?
Not that I don't remember.
So I want to back up to that June 3rd proffer that we discussed earlier. During that proffer, do you remember telling law enforcement that Kim mentioned a misplaced handgun, but that was well before the stolen guns in this case?
Yes.
Does that you remember that conversation with Kim?
Yes.
Is that what she told you?
Yes.
And was it well before your husband stole her guns?
Yes.
Kayla, do you remember where you were back on December 30th, 2021?
Either in a family shelter at FIT or at my mom's. I don't remember which one.
Okay. Judge,
Yes?
And so, Kayla, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as 46A through E. And I'm going to ask you to turn to the last page, E.
Okay.
And you can set those aside. So with respect to 46E, do you recognize anyone in those photos?
Yes.
Who do you recognize?
Kelsey and myself.
And you had mentioned a Kelsey Small earlier.
Yes.
Is that Kelsey Small in those photos?
Yes.
And you said yourself as well?
Yes.
What were you doing in those photographs?
Trading in phones at the phone machine thing that's at Walmart for money.
So, how did you arrive? You mentioned Kelsey Small. Were you with her that day?
Yes.
Were you with anyone else?
Adam.
Did Kelsey and Adam leave you at some point during your interaction there or your time there at Walmart?
Yes.
You know where they went?
No.
So, Kayla, I want to switch gears. Do you know someone named Tara Hilbert?
Yes.
Can you tell us about your relationship with Tara?
She was the property manager at the apartment that we were last living in together, on Union Street in Manchester. And we ended up having a friendship, and it was a good friendship. Like, our kids played with each other outside, and we cooked together, had barbecues and stuff like that. We were friends.
And when you say we cooked together, had barbecues, who do you mean when you refer to we?
Myself and Adam and Tara and her boyfriend,
Do you remember his name?
Josh.
Were you ever party to a conversation between Tara, her husband, and the defendant regarding firearms?
I don't remember.
Do you remember a conversation where the defendant accused you of telling the police on him in front of Tara, her husband?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
He was.
Yes?
Oh. Cass, no, I didn't get to donate yet. I forgot. I had no, I didn't do it. I need to. I am taking her to the zoo this weekend. But, and she's graduating Wednesday. So she actually asked me to take her out for some ice cream. I got to do that. What happened? Let me fast forward a little bit since we got all this.
So, Kayla, we were talking about a conversation between you, Tara, the defendant, and Tara's husband. Do you remember a conversation about these guns where the defendant accused you in front of Tara of telling law enforcement on him?
Yes, he accused me of a lot of things.
And during that conversation, did he say that you were working with the police?
Yes.
Were you still using drugs back then?
Yes, it was off and on.
And was the defendant still using back then?
Yes.
Had his temperament, I'll strike that question. So, Kayla, we spoke earlier about that June proffer.
Yes.
Do you remember who was party to that proffer? So who was there?
Myself, my lawyer, Paul, and Jesse, I forget his last name.
Does O'Neill sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you come to be there for that proffer?
Because I got subpoenaed to be questioned about Harmony, and I lied to the grand jury because I was scared.
So let me back up. Had you been charged with a crime prior to meeting for that proffer?
Yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
I wonder when the actual trial starts for Harmony. Is there even a date set? Harmony. They got a lot of pauses, which is fine because we can skip past it. This is the weapons trial.
But prior to meeting for that proffer, you said, I think you had been charged with a crime.
Yes.
Do you remember what you had been charged with?
Welfare fraud
Anything else?
and 2 counts of receiving stolen property.
And do you remember being charged with perjury as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did you receive a letter from the Department of Justice prior to going to that proffer meeting?
I don't remember.
Do you think it would help refresh your recollection if you saw the letter?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember
October
this.
this year?
And so you remember receiving a letter from the New Hampshire
October's-
Department of Justice prior
Yes.
to that meeting?
Yes.
What is your understanding of what your obligation was going into that meeting?
To tell the truth?
And is that what you did in that proffer?
Yes.
Is that what you're doing here today?
Yes.
And so the activity that formed the basis for those charges you just mentioned, specifically receiving stolen property and perjury.
Oh.
I think you've explained the perjury. The receiving stolen property, though, what was the basis of that charge?
The receiving stolen property was for the guns.
So they said Adam Montgomery's murder trial, which was originally scheduled for this summer, will now move to late fall, with jury selection slated to begin November 20th. So thank you, Flossie, for sending me that. Listen, there's a lot of shit coming up. I know everybody's like, what's the next trial? What's the next trial? And I know there's been like this kind of empty gap right now where things are kind of slow. But it is going to pick up. All right. It is going to pick up. We got Koberger for October. Hopefully it actually gets streamed. And hopefully by November 20th, I don't know, this would be a case that we probably should cover. Harmony Montgomery. We also got the Sarah Boom. We're going to supposedly find out. That thing's gotten pushed back so many times, but we're supposed to get a date. I don't know if that's going to happen. So there's a bunch of shit coming. There is a bunch of stuff coming. I just hope we don't miss anything or anything overlaps. So do not worry. Don't fret. There's going to be a lot of ish coming up.
The guns in this case,
Yes.
they were in your home?
Yes.
You knew they were stolen?
Yes.
And you knew that your husband was a felon?
Yes.
Yeah, I have Discord. It's public too.
After you were charged with those crimes, did you reach a plea agreement with the Department of Justice?
Yes.
What did you plead guilty to?
2 counts of perjury.
And was that to resolve all of your charges?
Yes.
So including the welfare fraud and the receiving stolen property?
Yes.
And Judge, approach the witness again.
Is that good, Shirley, the ex-NFL football player? Because I was thinking we could do opening statements and then stuff. I heard the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend, whatever, that testimony was crazy. You think he's innocent? I hear some people saying justice for that. Like, they think he's innocent. He's saying it's self-defense or something? What Kayla crying?
It's been marked as State's Exhibit 45 for identification purposes. And if you can just take a minute and look at that.
Ooh, Dewey, thank you for that. I forgot about that. Alex Murdoch, August Mallory Beach trial. Damn, bro. With Tinsley? Tinsley's gonna be there? Oh, we gotta get Tinsley. Trust me, bro. There's a lot of ish coming up.
So what is that document?
The memorandum agreement between the state of New Hampshire and myself.
And is that the memorandum agreement as you remember it regarding your sentence?
Yes.
We might be doing back-to-back trials, really.
Strike the ID and mark as full.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, approach.
We might be doing back-to-back trials. So right now, I'm trying to like zen myself out, meditate, pray, and shit. I got to do yoga. And in September, fuck, you know, I just thought about it. In September's Crime Con, the end of September. I don't know how we're gonna do all this shit. Right now, it's time to enjoy. Whatever. Because once this shit starts, we're probably gonna be going for, I don't know, weeks or months, maybe, potentially. Tizzy, let me fast forward. Right, skip this. I want to hear the defense. I want to see what happens with the defense, man. This prosecution is cool, but get to the defense already. Monster, alleged monster.
You may proceed.
Thank you.
I'm about to see you,
with
Jeeps.
respect to the sentence on those 2 felonies that you mentioned, what sentence did you receive?
I received the 2 counts of perjury.
And what was the sentence that was imposed?
I got 3.5 to 7 suspended, and a 3.5 to 7 with 1.5 suspended off my minimum.
And the 3.5 to 7 that you mentioned, is that the maximum prison sentence for each charge?
Yes.
And what portion of that prison sentence are you currently fulfilling right now?
So 3.5 to 7 with the 1.5 off my minimum.
And you mentioned a you mentioned a suspended portion of the sentence.
Yes.
What what if anything do you have to abide by for that to remain suspended?
I have to state as what the memorandum agreement is between myself and the state.
So is it suspended upon the conditions and continued parole?
Yes. But it's also suspended for, I have 10 years over my head.
And what is your obligation with respect to that agreement? What do you have to do?
I have to abide by the state.
And with respect to this trial, what is your obligation under that agreement?
To tell the truth.
What happens if you violate those conditions?
I can get all the charges that I have that got dismissed, and ones that I don't have, they can charge me with anything and take back everything that we agreed on.
So, Kayla, I want to briefly talk about a few of the things that we've mentioned here today, we've discussed today. You testified earlier that the defendant had this transaction with Manny, Ish, and Mike.
Yes.
And you also testified about a transaction and maybe the defendant leaving the house to shoot the gun with Kevin.
Yes.
And that you didn't see the gun after that.
No. Not that I remember.
And you testified that you observed the defendant attempting to sell the stolen guns, for drugs and/or money.
Yes.
Who was the individual that was doing all of those things you just described?
Adam Montgomery.
And do you see Adam Montgomery here in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you go ahead and point to him and describe the color of his shirt?
He's wearing a pink shirt.
Do you have any reason to protect him here today?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any reason to protect him here today?
No.
And Your Honor, if the record could reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record still reflects.
She crying though.
Just a moment.
Does she feel bad for Stitcher? Oh, damn, Shirley, I forgot about that.
For just a moment, we are going to take a break now. This is a good time for our mid-morning break. So, ladies and gentlemen, about 15 minutes, okay? All rise for the jurors, please. You can remain standing. Sitting.
November 20th. I mean, so...
Ms. Montgomery can be removed from the stand now. You'll be back for cross-examination. It's up to you whether you want to keep her upstairs or...
Let's get to the cross already. Oh, this bullshit. We get it. He stole the guns and shit. I mean, I know they gotta go through the process, but let me get part 2. Oh, thankfully. Okay, the other part's only an hour and 22. I thought the other part was like 2 hours for some reason. Amazing. Amazing. Still long, but it's not long as I thought. Get to the defense. Keep this shit moving. Yeah, that girl in the bucket, Shirley. I don't know. I should check on that. I forgot about that. That heifer was crazy, and I got a crazy story too. I'm gonna start moving my ass tomorrow. Get some videos done, because we should update the bucket story of that girl. Let me see. I did a video. Did I do a video on that? A short video? I don't even see it here. Yeah. We should update that. That bitch was crazy. That bitch was crazy. Effort dragged that bucket with the child to the mother's house. Let me skip past this, right? Save time. Save all the time we can save. Harmony's brother was, I think, Jameson. I think the name was.
All rise for the jury, please.
Must have heard it right 1,000 times. Really? Oh, no.
About what you just testified to. Have some questions to ask you
Oh,
about
okay.
what you just testified to. First, I want to kind of get a bit of a timeline. You were arrested and incarcerated on charges in January of last year, right?
Yes.
That was 2022, right?
Yes.
And when you were incarcerated in January, and that was the welfare fraud that you referred to,
Yes.
and you were not able to make bail at that time, right?
Correct.
So you were incarcerated for a couple of months.
Yes.
And around April 13, 2022, you were arrested for receiving stolen property regarding the guns at the Fran residence, right?
Yes.
And you were still incarcerated at that time, right?
Yes.
And then you were not guilty of those charges, right?
No.
And you intended to fight those charges, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you were moving towards a hearing to fight the charges very early on in court, right?
Yes.
And before that hearing, or I think the hearing was postponed because you reached an agreement with the state on bail to get out, right?
Yes.
So that hearing was called a probable cause hearing, right?
Yes.
To see if the state had enough evidence to hold you or to actually charge you, right?
Yes.
And you didn't have that because you got the agreement on bail.
Yes.
And you did not, the guns involved, by the way, were receiving receiving or retain the property of another, a shotgun belonging to CF, which was, you knew to be Chris Rain, right?
Yes.
Knowing it had been stolen or believing it probably had been stolen with the purpose to deprive Chris Rain, right?
Yes.
And you got a second charge that was pretty much the same
Elaine.
thing except for referring to a rifle.
Yes.
And you did not receive a shotgun that belonged to Chris Rain, is that right?
Correct.
You didn't retain a shotgun belonging to Chris Rain, is that right?
Yes.
You didn't receive a rifle belonging to Chris Rain, right?
Right.
And you didn't retain a rifle belonging to Chris Rain, right?
Yes.
You didn't possess any of Chris Rain's guns, right?
No.
You didn't control any of Chris Rain's guns, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you didn't touch any of Chris Rain's guns, right?
Yes.
And you were charged with that anyway, correct?
Yes.
And you were out on bail based on your agreement with the state and didn't go forward with that hearing. So the bail then was 5,000 personal recognizance, right?
Yes.
And what that means is you don't actually pay up $5,000, right?
Right.
You don't actually have to pay any cash, right?
Right.
It is just a promise that you'll follow the conditions or they can hold you on the 5,000, right?
Yes.
And so you made a promise with them to follow certain conditions of bail, right?
Yes.
And that agreement was made on May 6th. Does that sound right to you?
Yes.
And you got out on May 6th.
Yes.
So you had been in from January, February, March, and April, and then got out on May 6th.
Yes.
And on June 3rd, you sat down with police to talk to them, right?
Yes.
And you sat down with police of your own free will, right?
Yes.
That you had the services of an attorney, right?
Yes.
And that attorney was actually with there when you sat down with the police, right?
Yes.
And he was there to help you if you needed it, right?
Yes.
And you were on bail when you went there, right?
Yes.
But while you were there talking, or actually that morning probably earlier, you were charged with the perjury charges that you talked about, right?
Yes.
And so you stayed in jail for a couple of more days, but you got out a few days later on bail again, right?
Yes.
And on June 20th, this was after you talked to the police on June 3rd about those gun charges and what you said happened, right?
Yes.
And on June 20th, after your June 3rd conversation with police, you actually got indicted on receiving stolen property, right?
Yes.
The difference was the first charge was just the police writing up the charge and serving you and holding you. But on June 20, after you talked to the police,
Objection, Your Honor, counsel's testified.
Overruled.
a grand jury, well, your case was presented to a grand jury and you got indicted, right?
Yes.
And you had not given the police any information on June 3rd that you received a shotgun belonging to Chris Frayne, right?
I don't remember.
You might have.
I said I don't remember.
Okay. Did you receive a shotgun from Chris Frayne?
I didn't know.
Okay. Did you tell the police on June 3rd that you got a shotgun from Chris Frayne?
No.
And you did not get a rifle, receive a rifle from Chris Frayne, right?
Right.
And you told them that, or your story included that you didn't receive a rifle from Chris Frayne, right?
Right.
And that you had not possessed any of Chris Frayne's guns, right?
Right.
And that you had not controlled any of Chris Frayne's guns, right?
Right.
And that you had not touched any of Chris Frayne's guns, right?
Right.
And you were still indicted after you talked to the police about all that on June 20th, 2022, right?
Yes.
And those were, by the way, the same charges that you had been served with back in April. Pretty much the same, right?
Yes.
And when you went to court or had a court date for arraignment on those charges, you pled not guilty, right?
Right.
Because you were not guilty, right?
Right.
And you had told the police on June 3rd that you were near the firearms, right?
Yes.
That you were in the same room as the firearms, right?
Yes.
That at some point you knew the firearms were there, right?
Yes.
But that you were just in a drug fog and weren't a part of that whole thing, right?
Yes.
And that all you wanted was to get some drugs from what was going on that you described, right?
Yes.
And you've always said that you're not guilty of those charges, right?
Yes.
And the state dropped the charges on November 18, 2022, right?
Yes.
And that was based on the agreement that you talked about in direct examination, right?
Yes.
For the other charges.
Yes.
And yet, I think you said that the receiving stolen property charges could still come back if you did something wrong, right?
Yes.
What I miss? Nothing?
Now, I think I heard you testify that Kim Frayne freaked when she discovered the guns were missing and was calling around to everybody before Chris got home because she was frantic. Is that right?
Yes.
And you didn't tell the police that on June 3rd, right?
Right.
Okay. So I think your testimony is, and when would that be? Would that be like in the morning, noon, afternoon?
I don't remember.
Okay. But in any event, you found out that Kim had some missing guns because she actually called and said, there's missing guns. I've got to get them back before Chris gets home and finds out. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, when you were arrested in April of 2022, you're entitled to get police reports and stuff like that about what you were arrested on, right?
Yes.
It was called discovery, right?
Yes.
And the discovery, it contained police reports and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
So before you talked to the police on June
faster?
3rd, you were able to read what other people were saying was going on, right?
Yes.
And you were able to get a description of what other people had said, is that right?
Yes.
And you were able to get a description of the guns, right?
Yes.
And you were able to get a description of what happened to the guns and whether they were found or not, right?
Yes.
And you read in Discovery, well, no. You actually read in Discovery that the names of people that you were telling the police came to your house, right?
Brittany, thank you. Thank you for the super chat.
To my house.
Let's
I
cheers.
don't remember that, but yeah.
Well, you told the police that two white
Bittersweets, thank you for the 5-month Prime membership. You're the best, Mel. Thank you.
guys had come to your house and Adam was selling them drugs for money. You don't recall their names, but you saw their names in the Discovery, right?
Yes.
So this description of two white guys coming to your house was something that you had seen in Discovery.
Yes.
Okay. Somebody else had talked about that in Discovery. Is that right?
I don't remember.
And you told the police that these two guys were both white. You didn't remember their names until you saw it in the paper, meaning Discovery, right?
Right.
And that you had kept thinking it was all about Manny, Ish, and Mike in that situation, right?
Yes.
So your recollection was Manny, Ish, and Mike with the guns until you read Discovery of what somebody else said. And then you started to think, oh, two white guys came over, right?
I wasn't thinking, I remembered.
Okay. Okay. And you actually told the police that you could recall Kim saying that her guns were stolen, right?
Yes.
And you had a recollection of Adam going to Kim's that night, right?
Yes.
And you had a recollection of Adam coming back that night, right?
Yes.
But you had no recollection of Adam bringing any guns in the house, right?
Right.
And so I think you testified on direct, Kim lives 10 minutes away, give or take. And you described Adam going to Kim's and coming back and describing to you what happened, right?
Yes.
And you said, I think on direct here, that her house was wide open. Her door was wide open, right?
Yes.
And when you talked to the police, you had a little bit more detail about that, right?
I don't remember.
Well, you said that Adam told you that he left and he came back and said that Kim's door was open and that the dog didn't even bark and Kim was passed out. Do you recall telling the police that?
Yes.
And so the detail about the dog didn't bark is something that you said that Adam said to you, right?
Yes.
Not something that you read in Discovery.
No.
And so Adam came home and said Kim's door was open, the dog didn't even bark, and she was passed out, right?
Yeah.
And he said Kim woke up and she said the guns were missing.
Yes.
And you repeated that more than once in your statement to police, right? On the 3rd.
Yes.
And you said that he had left around 10 or 11 at night, right?
Yes.
And that he had been gone for about 20 minutes, maybe as much as a half an hour.
Yes.
And that was something that you specifically recalled about Adam's absence that night, right?
Yes.
And so it was a pretty quick trip that he was gone and back, right?
Yes.
No more unusual than any other time that he may have gone over there to pick her up to help her get drugs or something.
No.
And in that 20 minutes to a half an hour, he said the door was open and Kim said the guns are missing, right?
Yeah.
So the third time, well, you repeated it again. And again, I think that you said to the police a third time that Adam came home about 20 minutes after he left and said the door was wide open, Kim was passed out, and Kim said the guns were missing and the dogs didn't even bark.
Yes.
Okay. And this seemed consistent with other things that you had read in Discovery, right?
I didn't read the full discovery. I just saw a couple of names.
Okay. Okay. Well, you said that when you were charged with receiving, you hadn't done it, right?
Right.
And you hadn't touched the guns, possessed, or controlled them in any way, right?
Right.
And so you wanted to find out what somebody else had said to make them think that you had received or retained. The police had received or retained. I lost myself on that question. Let me rephrase it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when you were charged with receiving something you knew that you had never done, and you had access to the police reports, you kind of wanted to know what people were saying about you that got you arrested on those charges, right?
Yes.
So you reviewed that discovery.
I didn't review the whole discovery.
Okay. Just you wanted to see what people were saying that made the police arrest you, right?
Yeah, my lawyer showed me a couple of sentences in it that he highlighted, but I didn't see the whole thing.
Okay. Okay. And
Ma, where'd
so
she
you
go?
talked to your lawyer about what people were saying that got you arrested.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you told the police back in June that you first learned that the guns were in the house the day that Kevin O'Leary came over. Do you recall that?
No.
Okay.
Inceptioning yourself. Wow, the point of this bullshit.
I'm going to show you.
Oh.
A copy of, there was a transcript of your interview. Did you review that before trial?
No.
Did you review the content of the interview with the state before testifying here?
No.
Okay, I'm going to show you, well, a copy of the transcript of your recording. Let me also clarify this. When the state was talking about your conversation with the police on June 3rd, he kept referring to it as a proffer, but it was a question and answer situation where you were talking about the guns, right?
Yes.
I'll show you. Give you a chance to look at this. This is a recording of Kayla Montgomery interview part 1, and then I lost my page with my finger there. And here I have a proffer interview with Kayla Montgomery, second half, 6/3/2022, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to show you page 156, I think I said, and ask you to review it, and then I'm going to ask you a question, okay? Now, you can feel free to review any part of that you want, but I'll be asking you a question about page 156, okay? Starting from there and down.
Okay.
Take your time. Okay, you ready for me to ask?
Yeah.
Right. So when you were doing that question and answer with the police, one of the officers asked you, and do you remember Detective Rahill?
No.
Name? No? Okay. One of the officers asked you, and when was the first time you found out that the guns were in the house? And you said, when, what's his name? When Kevin O'Leary, that I know of, came over, and then I found out that, I thought that it was like Kevin came over, and then Ish and Manny and Mike came over, and Adam was like talking, saying, "Oh, look at these, look at these." Is that right?
Yes.
But you actually had on direct that Ish and Mike and Manny were over before Kevin O'Leary, right?
Yeah, I don't remember when they were always in the house and then gone, and then it's like a mixed up situation. You never know who's coming in and who's going out.
Okay, so actually that whole night is kind of a mixed up situation, right?
Yes.
Because after that night, when you learned the day that you learned the guns are in the house, and Ish and Mike and Manny are over and Kevin O'Leary's over, but after that you really didn't think about this case at all until you got arrested for it, right?
Right.
So that was like a one-day thing, and then you're off on other days of working and coming home with the kids and then doing drugs in the evening, right?
Yes.
And that particular day was not particularly standout after it was over, right?
Right.
Okay. And for the most part, as long as you had drugs, you weren't caring what was going on around you, right?
Right.
Okay. No idea how things got so messed up there, sorry. So, you told the police you first learned that guns were in the house when Kevin O'Leary came over. By the way, do you also know Kevin O'Leary as Kevin LaBelle?
I found that out. I didn't know that was his name too.
How'd you find it out?
The cops told me.
Okay. The cops gave you some information too about your case that you didn't know?
Yeah.
And you also, and I think you said it on direct, that Adam had not, when you were there and Adam came home from Kim's, you saw him come in and he didn't have the guns on him, right?
Right.
But then you said that he was in and out through the night, right?
Right.
And you also said on direct that Adam eventually told you what was going on?
Yes.
And I think that you said that Adam told you that he had ended up taking them to a friend's house, right?
Yes.
Now, this conversation that you're having with Adam about what's going on is after some things are going on with the guns up in the attic, right?
I don't remember.
Well, he didn't tell you, in your story, he doesn't say anything about what happened at Kim's, other than he went there, the door was open, Kim was asleep, the dog didn't bark, and he woke her up and she said the guns were missing, right?
Right.
And then sometime after you're discovering there's something going on with guns in your attic, you confront him about it, right?
Right.
That's what you told the police, right?
Right.
And he told you that he had taken them to a friend's house, right?
The video is sped up because it's kind of dragging. We're almost kind of halfway. Sorry, I'm having my throat. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's almost done. We're like 34 minutes in. It's an hour and 22 minutes. But it's kind of like, I don't know. She's kind of repetitive a bit. We already kind of heard this stuff. I mean, I got up like twice, so I don't know if I missed anything, but.
Right.
And you didn't see him bring them in the house, right?
No.
So if you took him to a friend's house, the going in and out was just normal going in and out, right?
Yeah.
And at some point or other, they end up in your attic, right?
Yes.
And Manny, Ish, and Mike were over.
Yes.
And Manny, Ish, and Mike were talking about the guns.
Yes.
And the guns were there at the house when Manny, Ish, and Mike were there at the house.
Yes.
Right? But you never saw how the guns got in the house.
Right.
So she's trying to.
And still, with Adam taking guns to a friend's house, as you say he said, it was still a pretty quick trip to Kim's and back, right?
Yes.
What's up, Claire? How you doing?
And you say that at some point you confront Adam about the guns, right?
Yes.
And you have said sometime the next day, Kim is calling around, freaking out because the guns are missing and Chris is not home.
Right.
And when he gets home, he's going to be upset.
Right.
So, you don't know what day that was, right?
No.
Okay, but fair to say that this is going on before Chris gets home, right?
Right.
Because you say that Kim is trying to find out what happened so that she can take care of it before Chris gets home.
Yes.
She doesn't want Chris to know that the guns are missing in your story, right?
Right.
And that she was calling around to everyone, including you, in your story, right?
Yes.
And so you say that you confront Adam, and he tells you that he finds Kim asleep, the door is wide open, the dog doesn't bark, and he finds the guns and takes them out to the car, and then he comes back in and wakes Kim up and says the first thing that she says when he wakes her is that the guns are missing. That's what he told you?
Yes.
And that's sort of what you were telling the jury on direct, right?
Yes.
And it's sort of the same thing that you said that he told you that night when he got home, but just added the thing about the gun, right?
Right.
And so you've been to Kim's house, right?
Yes.
And you've been inside,
Yes.
I think you said 4 or 5 times?
Yeah, something like that.
And you knew that Kim and Chris were living in the same house, but not really so well together, right?
Right.
And she was sleeping on the couch, right?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, in any event, you've been in there, you've been in her living room. There's not a gun case in the living room, right?
Right.
There's no guns on the wall or on display in the living room, right?
Right.
And if you were in the living room and you suddenly woke up, well, if you were in the living room, you wouldn't notice whether guns were missing in the rest of the house because you never would have seen them in the living room, right? Oh, that was terrible. Let me try again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fucking up.
If you're in the living room, you don't see guns while you've been there, right?
Right.
They're not visible in the living room, right?
No.
Okay. At least for however they've kept them while you've been there.
Right.
And you also told police that you did see the guns, right?
Right.
So, like, right after it happened, right?
Yeah.
Meaning kind of the next day after Adam came back from Kim's place, right?
Yeah.
And you told the police that you saw the guns, and it was there when people were in your house, like Ish, Manny, and Mike. You didn't know what kind of guns, but the guns were in the house, right?
Right.
When the 3 of them were there.
Right.
And you had not seen how they got in the house.
Right.
And I think I heard you say on direct that Mike was there, and Mike, did you say he's never alone or he's always with somebody?
He always has somebody with him. When he came to the house, he was always had somebody with him.
Okay, not necessarily Ish and Manny, right?
Not that I remember.
Okay, so Ish and Manny may have come over at some point, and then Mike and whoever was with him at another point that same day after Adam had gone to Kim's.
Right.
Okay, but whoever he had with him, you didn't necessarily know.
No.
Okay. And you told police that you saw an exchange with 2 white guys, right?
Right.
And one guy was the driver, and the other guy had drugs and money, right?
Right.
And that they walked out of the house with both guns that day, right?
Right.
Was that Mike and whoever goes with him?
No.
Okay. So Mike is there, but it's another set of people that go, I think you call it a transaction?
Right.
So it's Mike, Ish, and Manny might be there, but these guys are different people, 2 white guys, right?
They weren't there during that transaction.
Okay. Okay, is that clear? Is
Yes.
that really, really clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so, is there one? Okay. So, you didn't recall if you were in the room when the thing with the white guys happened, right?
Right.
That was up in the attic, right?
Right.
And you did say that they walked out of the house with both guns that day, right?
Right.
And that was sometime after Adam was at Kim's house?
That was like weeks after.
Weeks
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't right after.
Okay, so weeks after, and is that when you're talking about Halloween? Sometime around Halloween?
I don't remember, but I know it was way after. It was around that time period.
Okay, so we'll go on. And one of the things that you weren't paying attention about the white guys in your house up in the attic was that all you wanted was effing drugs. You didn't care what was going on.
Right.
And you did say that those guys were over at the end of October, but before Halloween, right?
Right.
And that was your recollection, that it was the end of October, but before Halloween.
Right.
Probably within a week of that? Is that
Yeah,
what
it
you
was
were-
around that time.
Okay. October 31st is Halloween.
Right.
And October 31st, it goes without saying, is about 9 days after October 22nd, right?
Right.
And you said that Adam did a trade that day. There were two of them. A shotgun with a scope is what you called it, right?
Right.
And you had said that you thought that they took both of the guns that day, weeks around Halloween, after Adam was over at Kim's house.
Right.
Okay. And that both guns left the house that day, right?
Right.
And you told the police that you thought it was Kevin O'Leary who had done that transaction, right?
Right.
Bought one of those guns, right?
Right.
And the other was the driver. So that there was a driver, the two white guys, there was a driver and the guy doing the transaction.
Right.
It was Kevin and somebody else, right?
Right.
That had taken the shotgun and the rifle.
Right.
And I believe you said on direct that you were evicted in November,
Yes.
and that was the end of November, right?
It was the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay, which was 28th?
Third. 23rd.
23rd was Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Okay. So you were evicted after that and kind of living in the car?
Yep.
And the 23rd of November is less than a month after Halloween, right?
Right.
And so you were saying that Kevin O'Leary, who's also Kevin LaBelle, you now know, took the shotgun and the rifle sometime around Halloween. And if we factor 2 months after Halloween, when that transaction happened, that would be in December, right?
Right.
And 2 months after you're saying Kevin O'Leary got the rifle and the shotgun, you were living in your car
Right.
with Adam.
Right.
So she was living in a car.
Another thing that you told the police was your belief that Chris had a locked place for the gun, right?
Right.
Because you sort of knew that Chris had guns because he liked to go hunting.
Right.
And it was your understanding from the conversations that you were overhearing, at least at Chris, that the guns were in the locked place, right?
Right.
You didn't know where, right?
No.
And they were clearly not in an obvious place when you walk in.
Right.
And Adam, I think, I keep sipping here. Please feel free to have water as well. So, where was I? Sorry.
Don't matter.
Adam would sometimes, after you came home from work at 2, you all would be there with the kids for a bit, and then in the evening, Adam, because he had a car, would leave because he might be able to drive people around, right?
Right.
And sometimes Kim would call to have Adam come over because he could drive, and if she couldn't leave her child, like you wouldn't like going out with your children
Right.
at night also, that she might have Adam go to pick stuff up for her, right?
Right.
And that had happened several times, right?
Yeah, a couple times.
And it is something, people kind of gave him money for giving him a ride around and stuff like that.
Yep.
Or if they were going riding around to pick up drugs, they might split some of the drugs with Adam to make it worth his while.
Yep.
And So if Adam went to Kim's, as you say that he saw the door unlocked, and you say that he told you that he...
Objection, Your Honor, asked him answer.
Overruled, go ahead.
Gathering my thoughts again, sorry. And he told... So do you want me to start over?
Yes, please.
Okay. So one of the things that you tell police is that Adam told you, after you confronted him about the guns, he admitted to you. Not only that, he went over, saw the door open, saw Kim was asleep, and then you say when you confronted him, he said that he searched around and found the guns and put them in his car, and then woke Kim up.
Yes.
Did you ask him why you woke her up?
No.
Okay. And the first thing that she says when she wakes up, according to this story that you say Adam gave you, where are my guns? She was freaking out about the missing guns, right?
Yeah, it took her a little bit to see that they were gone, but yeah, she was freaking out that same night.
Why do you say that?
I don't understand. What do you mean?
Why do you say it took her a little bit to see that the guns were gone?
Because she woke up and she obviously was looking around to see if anything was missing.
Okay.
Because her door was open and she
Okay.
fell asleep.
So Adam wakes her up. Now you're saying Adam tells her that her door had been open? Because she was expecting Adam, right?
Yeah, but it was wide open. It wasn't just unlocked. It was wide open, he said.
Do you know if she saw that?
No.
You're just sort of filling in stuff that seems to make sense, right?
No.
Adam didn't tell you she looked around the house and for things missing, right?
Right.
Okay. Adam didn't tell you that he told her the door was open, right?
Yes, he did.
He told you that he told Kim that her
Door was wide open, yes.
Okay.
He woke her up and said the door was wide open. And she was sleeping. She was passed out.
Okay. By the way, you said that you are, your drug of choice was heroin and what was the other?
Crack.
Crack. And heroin kind of lays you low, right?
Right.
You sort of don't want to really do anything, but you're enjoying the experience of not doing anything, right?
I guess, or you're just sick, so it makes you not sick anymore.
Okay. So when you're feeling dope sick, a little bit of heroin can make you feel better.
Right.
And crack is kind of the opposite effect, right?
Right.
And heroin can act, I mean, you can get dope sick with crack if you don't have it and you're coming down from it, right?
If you use a lot of it.
Yeah, and it can leave you pretty wired, right?
Yes.
And that can be a pretty difficult experience too, right?
Rapid.
Depends.
Well,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. It can be a difficult experience.
Thank you so much for the 9-month membership. I hope you're doing well. Hope everything is great with you.
Right?
Right.
And a little bit of heroin can just
The baby too, baby rabbit.
sort of take that edge off too, right?
Right.
Now, you talked about your friend Tabitha Scott. You told Tabitha, well, after June 3rd, talking to the police, and you're back out on the streets, and you see Tabitha Scott, right?
Right.
And you tell her that Ish and Manny brought the guns over to the house.
Right.
And that was after June 3rd, right?
Right.
Now, I'll show you a copy of...
A little bit of heroin is kind of like being pregnant, Jen. Really? I'm not sure what was the point of her going. They already talked about the drugs. She already said what she was on, so I'm not sure what was the point of that.
What has been marked?
Text messages. Pictures.
States.
Yeah. Gamer Lover says, guns and drugs with children, very bad. Yeah, bad. I mean, this gun stuff, it's kind of like, 'Cause I'm more like interested in this whole, when they get to the Harmony trial. I mean, I guess it's interesting to see these people again that are probably going to be, well, obviously Adam's going to be in the Harmony trial. I'm wondering if, I feel like Kayla has to be a part of that too. I don't know. Was he already convicted and stuff? Was that trial already done? I don't know. They told me, I think Flossie already told me. I'm confused with all these trial dates. Let's see. To make testimony from this trial admissible in the murder trial. Oh, okay. Good shit. Okay, yeah, so November 20th. So that hasn't happened yet. Yeah, I'm more interested in the other trial, but yeah, they could use stuff from this trial and the other one. Just like I'm sure with Alec Murdoch, they're going to use this, the financial, him admitting he screwed people over or whatever. They're going to be able to probably use that in the financial federal trial.
I'm going to show you 3 exhibits. I don't know if you have seen these before, but they're full exhibits in this case. One is States 13, the other is States 14, and the other is States 17. I don't know, have you seen these before?
I haven't seen these.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you real quick, if you could read out loud what the date and time is of the, do you recognize that to be a phone screen, by the way? Screenshot?
Yes.
Okay. Date and time at the bottom of that phone screenshot?
October 3rd, 2019 at 10:52 a.m.
10:52, okay. I'm going to show you States 14. And can you read the date and time in the middle of that screenshot?
October 3rd, 2019, 11:14 a.m.
Okay. And then I'm going to show you States Exhibit 17. And can you read the time in the middle of that screenshot, date and time?
October 4th or October 3rd? October 3rd, 2019, 3:44
Okay.
p.m.
And what is the text message right before that date and time?
Yo, you missed out.
Okay.
Ellie Mae, thank you for the 19 months. Amazing. Thank you for being right away for so long too. It's been a great time watching you, eCkEdMeL. Thank you.
The perjury charges that you're spending time for right now, those are not related to the gun case, right?
Right.
And you described the sentence that you got on direct, and it was, one of them was a 3.5 to 7 suspended, and it's suspended for 10 years.
Right.
And, sorry, the other was 3.5 to 7 with the ability to suspend 1.5 years, right?
Right.
Which would mean that you spend 2 years behind the walls.
Right.
And you also got credit for this
Pre-trial.
Pre-trial, right?
Yes.
So with the time that you already spent in jail, you would be doing a total amount of 2 years incarcerated behind the walls.
Right.
And if you did, that's assuming that you did what you were supposed to do to get the 1.5 years off, right?
Right.
And then you're on parole, right?
Right.
So in sentencing, there's a bottom number and a top number, and the bottom is generally how much time you're behind the walls.
Right.
And then you are, if all goes well, released on parole.
Right.
And that if you have problems while you're on parole, you can go back and be incarcerated up to a grand total of 7 years max.
Right.
So you'll never do more than 7 years, but you can get out from behind the walls in 2 years.
Right.
And on the suspended time, that is, I think I heard you say suspended for 10 years?
Yes.
So you don't do anything, any incarcerated time on that sentence, right?
Right.
So when the state asked you, was that the maximum sentence that you could get on these charges? I mean, the maximum sentences were 3.5 to 7 on each.
Right.
The maximum sentence was 3.5 to 7 with 3.5 incarcerated, plus another 3.5 to 7 incarcerated, right?
Right.
For a grand total of potential incarcerated time of 7 years, right?
Right.
And so you expect or are working towards and hoping for no more than a total of 2 years behind the walls.
Right.
And when you talked to the police on June 3rd, you had that proffer agreement, right?
Right.
And that proffer agreement was your agreement to tell the truth also, right?
Right.
And that if you would hope that this would be the outcome by telling the police what you told them on June 3rd, that you would work things out for less than the maximum sentences.
Right.
And you testified on direct for the state, and then I brought up some questions about
That's a really good point, Stacy. Stacy says, but this helps you see the living conditions they brought those poor kids up in, which is awful. They definitely shouldn't have had those kids at all. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess this gives us, like you're saying, a preview into probably what's to come, because I'm sure in that trial they're going to go all into it, but we're getting like a little, information ahead of time, I guess.
what you said in June 3rd, right?
Right.
There were some differences, right?
Right.
And they can be accounted for maybe by memory, right?
Right.
And the fact that you were in a fog of drugs back in October of 2019.
Correct. There was a lot going on.
Yeah, there was quite the fog of drugs back then for you, right?
Yes, but there was a lot going on, not just drugs.
Okay. In October of 2019, there was a lot going on.
Yes.
And you were into drugs. Okay.
Sustained. You can move past the next.
It's kind of like, it's like they're trying to Johnny Depp her ass, right? When he's like, yeah, I did these drugs, blah, blah, blah. I did this shit, I did that shit, I know what I did. And then so she's like kind of harping on it to try to I don't know, maybe for the jury or something. Like, we get it. Like, she did drugs. She looks like she's clean now. I mean, I don't know.
Question.
Okay.
And you did drugs, right? Tell us what it's like when you're sick.
And one thing I didn't talk about was the cameras. You said the kid told you that there were cameras that showed who was there that night.
Right.
And the police were going to get him, right?
Right.
So it wasn't some elaborate thing about there were cameras. She just said the police were going to get him, right?
Right. She said there was cameras. Her neighbors had cameras.
Pardon?
She said that her neighbors had cameras, and she was going to ask them for them so that the police can get the footage of the videos.
Okay. And your reaction to that was, good, you want to find out who took your guns, right?
Right.
Okay. I may have a moment, Your Honor, or maybe not.
To discredit, yeah. Cocaine box. Then inverted earth made me laugh, spit up my smoke. No, Wayne, you can't go. How dare you,
Kayla,
Kelly?
you were asked about some differences between your statement back on June 3rd and your testimony today. And you were asked what those differences could be attributed to. Do you remember that from Attorney Smith?
Yes.
Do you think my reading comprehension could be one of the reasons for a difference like that?
No.
Maybe?
Well, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Sustained.
So you were asked specific.
Right, actually.
Oh, she didn't like that shit. Oh, no. So he was talking about his reading comprehension. I feel you.
Sustained. You're to ignore the last question and
Oh,
answer.
shit.
So you were asked specifically on cross-examination by Attorney Smith if you testify, or if your statement from June 3rd was that both guns left the house that day. Do you remember her asking you that?
Yes.
And she told you that you said yes, or I think so. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, and so is that what you remember saying?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna show you, Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes?
For what purpose? Did first you ask?
can't leave me. Mandy, thank you so much for the super chat.
So Kayla,
Mandy says, oh, and I missed some of the members things. Sorry. Mandy says, should watch day one, Kim Frayne and who Adam stole the guns from. Is it worth watching that? I did a mini recap about what happened from an article, but is it worth sitting and listening to these people talk? Deb, we're not gonna do it tonight, but if we can do it another day. Deb, thank you so much for the 5-month membership. Just tell us where Harmony is. Who cares? This. Yeah, I feel you. But they'll probably use this stuff for the other trial, like Flossie was saying. Betsy Lee, thank you for the 15-month membership. Says, thanks, man, for all you do. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys, the subscribers, and thank you for the members that have been riding out with me. You know, I appreciate you keeping the membership. It helps, like, the channel, and like, and I've been doing more members videos, so definitely check that out. This is almost over.
That you read, starting here, MR.
Yeah.
And you go through to right here.
Okay. I said, okay. Oh, I was asked, okay, so both guns left the house that day. And I said, I think so. And the other person said that. And I said, I'm not like 100% sure, but I remember, yeah, because it was wrapped in a sheet. And they said a sheet, and I said, yeah, a sheet and a blanket. And they said, okay, and when do you think this time frame was? Like, how far, how long after? And I said, it happened in the summertime. No, it was in the fall because it was October.
Perfect. So you said you're not 100% sure if both guns left the house that day?
Right.
Does that refresh your memory of that event?
Yes.
Are you sure that both guns left the house that day?
No.
No. And actually, in your statement, you go on to discuss whether both guns left the house that day. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And just like you said here, you described 2 incidents.
Right.
And with investigators, you talked about an incident with Kevin O'Leary, the person that you knew as Kevin O'Leary.
Right.
Right. And the investigators asked you, do you remember the investigators asking you who else the defendant offered the guns to?
Yes.
And you told them Manny, Ish, Mark.
Sustained.
Who did you tell them the defendant offered the guns to?
Ish, Manny, Mark, and Tone. And I don't remember the rest.
And do you remember telling officers that the defendant...
Sustained.
And investigators asked you, so both guns couldn't have left the home that day if he was still offering it to people.
Sustained.
Were you able to clarify
good.
whether both guns left
No
the house
worries.
that day during your June 3rd interview?
No,
And why is that?
because I don't remember if they both left or if one left or that whole situation, because I also got told about Kevin O'Leary being Kevin LaBelle, but I remember the 2 white guys that came in, neither one of them was Kevin O'Leary or Kevin LaBelle.
Okay. And Attorney Smith asked you about the discovery that you received before going to your June 3rd meeting?
Yes.
I think did you say your lawyer had highlighted a few things?
Yes.
Did he highlight the names of people?
Yes.
Okay. So you knew Kevin as Kevin O'Leary?
Yes.
And one of the things he highlighted for you, was one of the things that he highlighted for you the name of Kevin?
Sustained. Counsel Crouch.
Phone's about to die. He looks anxious, twiddling his fingers, pulling at his partial beard. Actually, he has an alright beard.
Did you know Kevin's last name at the time, before your proffer?
No.
Did you know Manny's last name or his first name at the time?
I don't remember his name.
Did you know Ish's full name at the time?
No.
Did you know Mike's full name at the time?
No.
Are those things that your attorney highlighted for you?
Yes.
You testified on cross-examination that you didn't touch those guns.
Right.
And I think you said that on direct as well.
Yes.
You also said that you didn't possess those guns, both on direct and on cross.
Correct.
And I think Attorney Smith also asked you if you retained the guns on cross-examination. And what did you say to that?
No.
Who did?
Adam.
Who possessed those guns?
Adam.
Who retained those guns?
Adam.
Who stole those guns?
Adam.
And he told you that he stole those guns.
Yes.
Objection what?
Did he tell you that he stole those guns?
Yes.
So on your direct examination, you talked about the first statement that the defendant told you. And I want to clarify between the first statement and his admission to you of what he'd done. In his first statement, did he tell you that Kim Frayne was sleeping when you went to her home?
Overruled. Go ahead.
Sorry, let me ask that again. In his first statement, did he tell you that Kim Frayne was sleeping when he went into her home?
Yes.
In his first statement, did he tell you that those guns were stolen?
Overruled.
Sorry, let me ask that again. In his first statement, did he tell you that the guns were stolen when he went into her home?
I don't remember if he said that or not.
Missing.
Yes.
In his second statement, he told you that he stole. Did he tell you that he stole the guns?
Yes.
In his second statement, did he tell you that she was sleeping when he stole the guns?
Yes.
Cleaned up nice. Eating? Shaking a stand. They're leading the whole way.
Anything further, Attorney Smith?
Elaine. Who's the card? She don't got the vigor that Elaine has. No honor among thieves, that's true.
When you were talking with me before the redirect, we talked about a transaction that you said was two white guys and one was the driver.
Yes.
And the other was doing the transaction, right? And that was a transaction that you say occurred in the attic, right?
Yes.
Two white guys, one a driver and one doing the transaction, right?
Right.
And you actually called it a transaction, right?
Right.
And then when you were talking about Kevin O'Leary to the police, you were talking about Kevin coming over and wanting to buy the gun.
Yes.
And when they asked if he ever bought it, you said the other guys came down and did the transaction. They were wrapped in sheets. I'm pretty sure they left with them that day. I thought they did anyway, right?
Right.
And that's a different time than the prosecutor was pointing out about the white guys, one a driver and one doing the transaction, leaving with both guns that day, right?
That's the same incident.
Right.
Yes.
But that was the second time that you told the police that they left with the guns that day, right?
Right.
And days, we talked about a little bit of the drug activities. Days don't really set out to you, right?
Right.
And one of the things that the prosecutor asked about was Adam's, I think he called it first and second statement.
Yes.
And the door wide open, the dog didn't bark, and woke up and the guns were missing. The door wide open and the dogs didn't bark. You also knew that from Kim Frayne's statement in discovery, right?
No.
That was something that was in the discovery in this case, right?
I don't know. I didn't get to see that.
Okay. Okay. And the event with Kevin O'Leary, I think that you said it was before Halloween, around that time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Anything further?
Your Honor, I've asked, excuse me, I've asked this witness please.
Any objection?
If
Counsel, why don't you approach for 1 minute?
Let it go already. Shit. It's the same questions over and over. Let's see. Oh shit. Ex-wife of trans inmate slams $495,000 doc lawsuit, opens up about being married to extremely masculine felon. Wild moment. Unhinged woman attacks a mother and a baby in a park before going on a violent rampage for 30 minutes where she lunges at pedestrians before NYPD finally arrests her. Oh shit. Wild moment, wild attack. My God. Oh, shit. Let me see. Are we able to watch this? How violent is this? Let me see. I'm from New York. I got 100 goes 100 clips. New York. I got 100. New York is like, I don't know, man. I'm so glad I left that place. Let's see. Damn it, I messed it up. I'm so glad I'm gone from that place. I could say a worse word.
Safe roads.
Got 100 goes 100 clips. That overcrowded cesspool. I'm from New York. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just love the city. The crowd, the crowded subways. You can't breathe. You're likely to get attacked or raped. You can't drive anywhere. You got to take public transport. Oh, I just love the city.
Just, stay put for 1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch break now. So if you would come back at 1:25, I would expect that we would start up again at 1:30. As I have reminded you throughout this case, make sure that you do not discuss the case with each other or with anyone else. Don't talk about the case. Don't do any independent research. Don't look up any names or places. Don't look up the law. You'll get that in the court's instructions. And we'll see you in about an hour. So we should start up at 1:30. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so jury.
Oh, this bitch going wild. It's mental health. They arrested her. Got 100 clips. I love the city. It's just beautiful. I was raised in New York too. All right, Lady Love. I was born in Louisiana, but I was raised in New York. And she says I've been in Florida for 20 years. I love it. I love it too. All right. Let's take this out, man. So we got to take a break from this. Well, that thing's done for now. I'm gonna clip this. Wild moment. Unhinged woman attacks a mother and a baby in Manhattan, and then went on a violent rampage for 30 minutes long, lunging at people before NYPD arrested her. Wow. Attacking a woman, her baby, flipping over tables, smashing drinks. Wow. Let's take a look at this. I'm just kind of curious to see what happened here. Oh my God. Oh. She's having a mental breakdown. How many people is packed? packed, yo. These people, you can't even breathe in that pit city, yo. The fucking park is just packed with people. Oh shit, she smashed the glass. Look at these people running. I think they're running. Are they running away? Yeah, she's wilding out. Oh no. Oh. I guess maybe she had a mental breakdown or something. Huh? Jesus Christ, you can't even breathe in this place. And this is like more spacious than probably normal, I'm sure. Oh no. She gonna pee on her? Oh. Oh, she's just tearing the city up. Oh my gosh. Wow. How long? So she's allowed to tear the city up that long? Nobody stop her? No cops? Wow. Uh-oh. Popo.
0064.
Hopefully she gets the help that she needs.
She needs to run through their house. Yeah, we'll figure that out. No more. You know, you need to stay there.
My dad thinks
You don't go around beating up strange people in the street. Like 7 people.
Damn, 7 people? Nobody did nothing? They just took that shit?
So I'll be sitting by the old road. Yeah, we got a bunch of people. Yeah, I was just going to
Well. Oh, snap. Oh. Oh, she's trying to like attack or something. I'm gonna have to muzzle her. Mount Sinai. Oh, hopefully nobody got hurt in the process. Escape bull goes on a rampage. I'm kind of curious about that. Why did I do a horse sound? Oh, they do that.
Okay, the escape bull has now gone into the toilet.
Oh shit!
No lie. Oh, poor dude. Only in Shetland would you have an escaped teenager.
Is that the rampage one? I want to see the rampage one. That's it. Escape bull goes on rampage. That was a ramp. That was no rampage. Oh, here, maybe I got the wrong one. Let's see. That was it. That's some bullshit. The clickbait title. He was just going for a stroll. That lady was out rampage. I got 100 guns, 100 clips. I'm from New York. Multiple phone calls were made to 911 about the disturbance. Okay, probably a repeat offender. That's not getting the care she needs. Okay. Amazing. Another example of the system not working, forcing cops to deal with it anyway. It was all the social workers they said they were going to put out on the force. They're going to make the social workers deal with all this shit. They were going to get rid of cops and just have social workers. Anyway, man. All right, I guess I'm going to get out of here for tonight. You had a bull running in your neighborhood once? Yeah, I would say sedate her. Eve B, yeah. They probably are going to have to sedate her. Like, they give her that combination. Now it actually feels really bright in here. Like, it's actually really bright. Like nighttime, but it's super bright. Yeah, so I don't know what we got coming up. Friday, remember Friday, don't forget. I should schedule that stream ahead of time. I got to find out where they're streaming it, but I should schedule that ahead of time. Friday is going to be an interesting day for the Kohlberger stuff. I don't know if they're streaming that August boat trial. Sarah Boone, I thought they said July. I don't know. I need to actually come with a better list. I've started making a list, but I need a better list. But yeah, we have a lot coming up soon. So I'm going to head out of here. I'm going to chill, get the baby to bed. But yeah, thank you guys so much for riding with me. Let's see, make sure I got everybody. Ellie May, thank you so much for the 19-month membership. Melissa Mells, thank you for the 12-month memberships. I'm going to join in. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Rabbit, Reza Cat, thank you for the membership. I think we're caught up. Yeah, shit feels like it's too bright. I'm going to have to turn this shit down. She's like glistening. All right, guys. Oh, yeah, Schabusiness is when again? I'm afraid to turn on my phone. It's about to die. 3%. Business. Oh, so I have my, Katrina's gonna look into that for me. So I'll get with her. She found stuff already. There's motions scheduled to be discussed. Oh, June 13th. Something's coming up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get organized to keep track of all these. There's like all these little small dates before trials coming up. So I need to get a little bit more organized with dates and links. A 5-day jury trial has been scheduled July 24th with jury selection July 21st. Okay, I don't know. All right, guys. Love you. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Peace. Take care. Bye. Of course, Sams. Thank you so much for watching. Don't worry. Soon we'll be back. We'll be doing our regular stuff. I know I've been saying that every day for a while, but we will. And we'll be here daily. And when we do start, I'm going to be super rested because I took a lot of time this time. So, all right. Love you guys. Bye. Good night. Take care. Bloop, bloop, bloop.